Yeah. Well,
Never thought of it that way.
Commissioners, are we ready?
yes.
Attorney Rubin, are we ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Mayor Pro Tem Forrester, my fellow commissioners, City Manager Bruce Swingle, our clerk Angela Torres, Attorney Jay Rubin, I would like to welcome everyone here this morning. Today is Wednesday, July 28, 2021. This is our regular City Commission meeting. It is now 9 a.m. I will call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Here.
Honorable Amanda Forster. Here. Honorable Paul Baca.
Here.
Honorable Randall Aragon is absent, and Honorable Francis Luna.
And Honorable Francis is on the phone.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is silent meditation. At this time, please join me in 15 seconds of silent meditation. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Forrester, would you please lead us in the pledge? Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item B4, the approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Forrester will make the motion.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of the agenda of July 28, 2021 as submitted. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this morning is item C, a presentation. Presentation of proclamation celebrating the 105th birthday of Thelma Dickinson Clark. It gives me great pleasure this morning to be able to present this proclamation. As I noted at our last commission meeting on July 13, 2021, we were invited to attend and help celebrate the birthday of a resident at Sierra Healthcare Center on her 105th birthday. I do have a small bio here about Mrs. Clark. Let me go ahead and read the bio. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll read parts of it, and then I'll read the proclamation and present it. I see her daughter is here in the audience this morning, Mary Oakley. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Dickinson came from Texas to House, New Mexico in a covered wagon. Their daughter, Thelma Dickinson, was born in the town of House, New Mexico, soon after their arrival in 1916. Thelma grew up on a small ranch northeast of Fort Sumner, New Mexico, with her sister and her brother who tragically died at the age of 10 in a bicycle accident. Thelma graduated from Fort Sumner High School in 1924 and then attended beauty school in Portales, New Mexico. Her mother and her sister, Thelma and her sister, then moved to Colorado. Thelma was then in her early 20s where she met her husband at that time, Wendell Clark, at a country dance. They were married in Colorado in 1939. They had a son named Earl and a daughter named Mary, and Mary is here this morning. They were both born in Colorado. They moved to California where Wendell was a packer and a guide in the High Sierras. Their daughter Claudia was born in California that same year and returned to Colorado, where Wendell went back to work in the coal mine. Wendell developed severe crippling rheumatoid arthritis, diminishing his ability to work or walk. In 1951, Thelma packed up her husband, 3 children, 3 goats, and their dog, and to take them to the newly named Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. They went for the healing waters of the hot mineral bath and well-known abilities of Dr. Magnolia Ellis. They purchased a one-room shack on an acre of land to raise their kids, goats, rabbits, and pigeons. In 1955, their youngest son, Daniel, was born in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Thelma and her family made their modest living by selling the goat milk, chicken eggs, and whatever else they could. From the small farm provided in 1961. Thelma went back to beauty school in Las Cruces, driving daily with her young son in tow. In 1963, Thelma and the family added a detached room to their now three-bedroom home for her new beauty shop. Thelma supported her family for the next 30 years out of the beauty shop. After 61 years of marriage, Wendell Clark died at the age of 87 in 2000. Thelma finally retired from the beauty shop and milking goats. She spent her days keeping her home and land neat and tidy. At the age of 86, her chainsaw had to be taken away from her because of her pruning of the trees. At 86 years old, she wanted to continue to prune her trees. She found retirement challenging after managing a farm and a beauty shop for so long. Then, Thelma has been blessed with 4 children, 16 grandchildren, and 39 great-grandchildren, and 21 great-great-grandchildren. When Thelma was 102, she went on a late-night walk. 102, she went on a late-night walk to check on her daughter. Thelma fell. She was discovered the next morning by her son-in-law and grandson face down in the dirt. Her granddaughter Sonia called 911 and helped Ronnie, Travis, and Damon to pick her up and wrap her in a wool blanket while they waited for the ambulance. Her core temperature was 83 degrees. The skilled paramedics and hospital staff warmed her up. Except for some minor bruises, they found her to be in excellent health. Realizing she required 24-hour personal care, the family reluctantly moved her from her home and placed her in the Sierra Healthcare Facility. After 3 years, Thelma continues to thrive at Sierra. She is lovingly cared for and receives the extra social interaction she needs. Her family, are so very grateful for her personal care. She is lovely provided with by the staff. Thelma has been a resident of Truth or Consequences for more than 70 years now. Isn't that wonderful?
Wow.
I mean, to have a history like that. And so it gives me great honor and privilege to present, as well as it was to be in attendance at her birthday party. Proclamation, the City of Truth and Consequences. Whereas Mrs. Thelma Dickinson Clark was born in the town of House, New Mexico on July 13, 1916, and whereas she has been a resident of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico for the past 70 years, and whereas she made the modest living by selling goat's milk, chicken eggs, and whatever else her small farm provided. In 1961, she went to beauty school in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and supported her family for the next 30 years from her one-room beauty shop. And whereas she has been blessed with 4 children, 16 grandchildren, 39 great-grandchildren, and 21 great-great-grandchildren. And whereas she celebrated her 105th birthday on July 13, 2021, with the mayor, New Mexico State Representative, local law enforcement, friends, and family. Whereas Mrs. Thelma Dickinson Clark has lived during the most eventful centuries of this world's history. Do you realize she has now survived 2 pandemics, has had COVID, and never even knew it? It is remarkable. And whereas now, therefore, I, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor of the City of Truth or Consequences, along with the City Commissioners of the City of Truth or Consequences, Sierra County, New Mexico, do hereby deem it an honor and pleasure to extend this certificate of recognition to Thelma Dickinson Clark on the occasion of her 105th birthday, with sincere congratulations and best wishes for many more years, happy years to come. Happy 105th birthday to Mrs. Thelma Clark, signed by myself and Angela Torres as the clerk. Congratulations. That is absolutely wonderful.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. And that's a great bio, I love that. And we will get you more copies of that proclamation. I'm going to go ahead and keep this, and then I will call you and get you your copies, okay? Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda this morning is item D, public comments. Again, please remember the 3-minute rule. The first one I have this morning is Rick Dumiak. Also, if there's any documentation that needs to be given to the commission, please place it in the little black box next to the podium there.
That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, 105, right.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. Rick Dumiak, 705 Charles. I'd like you to urge to reconsider the $50 penalty fee that you implemented with the passing of Resolution 05-2122 on July 14th, 2021. Congratulations. According to the National Conference of State Legislators report on smart meter opt-out policies, this is the highest fee in the nation. And I quote, "In almost every case, customers who elect to opt out of smart meter installation are charged to do so, often through a one-time setup fee, followed by monthly fees associated with the cost of sending out meter readers. The fees can vary considerably. A utility in Rhode Island charges a one-time fee of $27, while a Texas utility's one-time fee is $171. A monthly fee ranges from $9 to $32. California's state policy established a one-time fee of $75 and a monthly fee of $10. Which is similar to other states that have set meter reading fees. However, the state makes an exception for income-qualified customers who wish to opt out, with a one-time fee dropping to $10 and then a $5 monthly fee to read the meter. Most states with opt-out programs either require that a customer allow a smart meter to be installed or pay the opt-out. Maine, however, offers a suite of options. Customers can retain an analog meter for a one-time fee of $40 and a monthly fee of $15.66. They can also choose to have the smart meter's transmitter turned off, a one-time fee of $20, with a monthly fee of $13.98. Alliant Energy in Iowa actually has a monthly fee of $4.06 to read the meter. Now, Google Earth shows that it takes 2 minutes to travel from the electric yard department to my residence, yet you want to charge the same trip fee that Sierra County charges. Have you looked at how big Sierra County is compared to TRC Services area? Come on, guys. I've asked this before. How much will we charge to read the electric meter before smart meters were installed every month? I can't get an answer. Can't get an answer from the utilities. Can't get an answer from everybody. Nobody seems to know what the monthly fee to charge read meters used to be. And yet, we've established a $50 fee to do it now. I find it interesting, according to the TRC utility rate sheet, we currently charge a fee of only $25 to do a residential meter test, yet we feel it's okay to charge $25 more to read a meter than to test it. They both require a trip to the house. Come on, guys, it's not fair. The PUAB discussed fees ranging from $10 to $25 and recommended a fee of $25, yet here we are with $50. I got to ask you, if I allow a smart meter to be installed, how much money am I going to get back, since they're not going to come and read the meter? Is that $50 also? If so, maybe I got to reconsider it. But I have health concerns, and $50 on a fixed budget is brutal every month. I'm going to make a decision how many meals I eat or pay the $50. It's just not fair, guys. Come on, do some due diligence, price it accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dumiak. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment at this time?
Sophia Perone, Truth or Consequences citizen and taxpayer. And I want to remind everybody, whoever's out there, if there's anybody out there listening, that there's a big election coming up in Truth or Consequences. 3 city commissioners are up for election. Time to get rid of them. Francis Luna, who we did not vote for, who always talks about how dirty the swamp is, but when there's a free seat in the swamp, she's ready to jump in it. And Mr. Paul Baca, and we all know what he's accomplished the last 4 years or however long he's been there. And Miss Sandy, our mayor. What else can we say about her? Sandy Whitehead. So there's 3 positions. August 24th, Tuesday, from 9 to 5 at the County Commission, County clerk's office, on Date Street, you can apply for City Commission of TRC. You do not have to declare a party or anything. Just go out there and apply for it. You'd hate to have this obnoxious old lady throw her hat in the ring again, and this time not as a write-in. Anyway, get your buns out there and think about what you want to do. You could be a mayor pro tem. We've elevated that position through Mr. Tolley, the coward that ran and pooped out on us in a month. And please, so it's time, people, citizens. These people have bankrupted us. They are bankrupting us every day. They are sucking the lifeblood out of the few people left in this dumpy town. And it's really bad. I do want to say some good things. I still love living here after 18 years, even though it's driven my blood pressure over the top. And there's a lot of good people, and I also want to commend Sierra County on their COVID response. We've done really well. It makes me really proud to live here and see that big blue spot on the map in the middle, despite of all the BS that we had to listen to from everybody here in town, including Commissioner Luna, who said she wouldn't get a vaccine, nor anyone at her office. So next time she comes up, please make sure she's wearing a mask. Don't forget to vote and run for office, August 24th.
Thank you, Sophia. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment at this time? Thank you. We'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is item E, the consent calendar. The consent calendar this morning consists of E1, City Commission regular minutes of July 14, 2021. E2, acknowledge regular planning and zoning board minutes, June 7, 2021. E3, acknowledge regular public utility advisory board minutes of June 21st, 2021.
Commissioner Forrester will make a motion to approve the consent calendar as noted.
Commissioner Buckle will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca to approve the consent calendar as noted. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forrester.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Francis? Are you still there? Unmute your phone, dear. Looks like she's still on the line.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye, motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the public hearings. F1, public hearing discussion action pursuant to Chapter 15, subsection 1518. Applicant is requesting the city to vacate an undeveloped designated alley at 400 Lucky Street. Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Tracy Alvarez, Community Development Director.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Applicant Deborah Trujillo, she's in the audience today. She's requesting that we vacate a designated alleyway. It hasn't been developed. It's in front of her lot at 400 Lucky, as well as the lot next door, which she's under contract to purchase. This is the only section of alleyway in that area of Lucky Street that hasn't been vacated. It's the only access she has to her property. Utility, there's no concerns on utilities. All of our utility offices have signed off. Staff recommends vacation.
Commissioners, maybe just to guide the commission a little bit about the process here, I guess maybe just a couple important considerations I'll just get on the record. I'm assuming that notice was given to all of the landowners within 300 feet.
Within 300 foot, yes.
And there's been no opposition.
No.
And I'm assuming it's a public hearing, no one has signed up in opposition.
Nobody signed up.
Okay. Had there been opposition, or if we heard from anybody, I'd probably be suggesting the Battershell process, which is a formal evidentiary hearing. However, in the event, as the notice has been given to the neighboring landowners, and there's no opposition, no one has signed in, I think you can do this in a much more informal manner. You've already heard from Ms. Alvarez. You might want to hear maybe from the applicant, and I think at that point, then you can deliberate this.
Thank you. At this time, can I call the applicant? Do you have any questions on vacating the alley? I need the applicant, I don't have the name of the applicant.
Deborah Trujillo.
Please come down to the mic. Thank you. I apologize, I didn't have the name of the applicant, so.
And we've read your application, ma'am, but you might just for the record, you might want to just maybe articulate, what you're seeking and the reasons why and how that's appropriate.
My name is Deborah Trujillo. I live at 400 Lucky, and I'm in the process of, I'm under contract for 408 Lucky, which is an abandoned mobile home lot building thing. I purchased the land at 400 Lucky in April of this year. It is an old church that hasn't been used for several years, and it's a residential home now. When I purchased the property, I had it surveyed, and nobody other than the surveyor seemed to know that there was this right of way in front of the building. It does follow the whole entire length of the block. There are only 2 lots on the entire block, my home and the home next door, and it does appear that it has been vacated the entire length of Lucky Street for everyone else along the road. It is about 30 feet wide and runs the entire length of it, and in both of the lots, it really is the only access to either building. It's kind of on top of a hill, so it's Oak Street, 4th Street and 5th Street and Lucky Street, and because it's on top of a hill on the elevation that's on Oak Street, and really it wasn't access to either home from there, as well as from the 4th Street, it just basically goes straight up. So the right-of-way has been used historically for both properties as a driveway, as an entry, and it really is the only access to both lots, and I don't even know what I'd do if the vacation was declined, because it really is the only way to get to the property, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions from the commission?
And I think I also would note here that the alley does not serve at this point any municipal purpose.
No.
Right, so it's not we're depending on anything for easement for utilities or anything like that, so if that's the case, then I don't see any problem with this.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin. Manager Swingle, do you have any questions or comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I will now close this public hearing.
Commissioner Forrester, Commissioner Forrester will make the motion to vacate the alleyway of 400 Lucky Street. Is that correct?
Yes, we're in Lucky Street, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Baca will second that.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca to approve the vacation of the alley at 400 Lucky Street.
400 block, I'm sorry.
The 400th block of Lucky Street, pursuant to Chapter 15, subsection 1518, as noted by Tracy Alvarez. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Francis? I'm still.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forrester.
Aye.
Sorry.
Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G, ordinances, resolutions. We have G1, discussion action, resolution number 02-2122, adopting fees for the City of Tiersee Golf Course Clubhouse. Wes Owens, Golf Course Manager, and O.J. Heschler, our Community Services Director.
Good morning, Mayor,
Good morning.
Pro Tem Mayor, Commissioners. I'd like to get this resolution approved for a rental agreement for the clubhouse at the golf course. We currently do not have one. We've had some inquiries and people wanting to rent it out. We had put together a 1 to 4 hour private party would be $50, 4 to 8 hour private party would be $100, and then over 8 hours would be $150. If there's no alcohol involved, $250 damage deposit, and if there is alcohol involved, a $400 damage deposit. But no alcoholic beverages are permitted in the venue unless served by a vendor with a picnic license. We would cut that cost by 50% if it was a nonprofit organization. They would have to prove to us that they are a nonprofit. The organizations must be either located in the city or their work must benefit the city and its residents. And the organization must state the purpose of the event and how that revenue will benefit the citizens of Truth or Consequences. In the rental criteria, the city golf course at time of scheduling, it should be noted that the clubhouse is intended for the use of the league members, tournaments, and golf-related functions. For this reason, rental times must be approved by city staff. We do have some work to do if this gets approved on the clubhouse itself to get it more up to comfort zone, heater, air conditioner, insulated. Right now it's just a metal building. There's some tables in it. It does have an air conditioner, but it's not insulated. We need to put lights in it and some fans. That way it's more, you're not sweating in the summer and you're not freezing in the winter. Just to make it more pleasant for anybody that would want to rent it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission?
Have you had people interested in renting it?
We've had a few, and that's why me and OJ discussed it, and we decided we needed to make up a rental agreement, so we have something to fall back on. That way, we're not just giving it to anybody; they have to pay for it. And
Right.
Mayor, it's my understanding we didn't just pull these prices out of thin air. We kind of went
we went off
at the Civic Center.
We went off the Civic Center,
Perfect.
but we did up that just a little bit from what the Civic Center was.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good to me.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Manager Swingle.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, it's staff's recommendation to approve this resolution.
Thank you.
Commissioner Forrester makes a motion to approve resolution number 02-2122.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of resolution number 02-2122, adopting fees for the City of Truth or Consequences Golf Course Clubhouse as presented by Wes Owens, our Golf Course City Manager. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda, thank you, gentlemen. The next item on our agenda this morning is G2, discussion action resolution number 07-2122, final fiscal year 2021 budget adjustments. Carol Kirkpatrick, our Finance Director.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, we have opportunity at the end of the year to adjust any budgets that need to be adjusted. We just have two for this end of year for June 30th, 2021. The first document, we received a donation for the swimming pool, actually two that totaled $5,355. We just wanted to get that put in last year's budget to match our cash. The second document, we missed the transfer portion of a cash transfer that was approved on March the 24th. So we're just following up and getting all of our documents that we need on that. I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Carol. Are there any questions from the commission?
No, ma'am. Thank you for the update.
Yes.
Manager Swingle?
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, this is just at the end of the year, clean up with the prior year's budget to address any discrepancies in the budget, to clean it up for audit purposes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Carroll. Keep up the good work.
Commissioner Baca will make a motion resolution number 07-2122.
Commissioner Forrester will second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the recommendation and approval of resolution number 07-2122, final fiscal year 2020-2021 budget adjustments noted by Carol Kirkpatrick, our Finance Director. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G3, discussion action resolution number 08-2122, approval of fourth quarter financial reports for fiscal year 2020 through 2021. Carol Kirkpatrick, Finance Director.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, the Department of Finance requires that we pass a resolution for our fourth quarter reports. I had submitted in the packet our cash balance, our revenues, expenses, and transfers. This will be sent up to the Department of Finance by June 30th. We request your approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments?
No, ma'am.
Manager Swingle?
None. Thank you.
Commissioner Baca make a motion, resolution number 08-2122.
Commissioner Forrester, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the approval of resolution number 08-2122, approval of the fourth quarter physical financial reports for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 as presented by Carol Kirkpatrick, our Finance Director. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forrester?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Fleener?
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is item G4, discussion action resolution number 09-2122, final adoption of fiscal year 21-22 budget. Carol Kirkpatrick, Finance Director.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Commissioners, and Mr. Solo, sorry for leaving you out. We have submitted our final budget. We have opportunity from the preliminary to the final to make a few last-minute changes. Also, any cash balances have to be reported as actual. I do want to bring up some highlights. The general fund cash balance came in at $857,743, more than we thought it would. That's due to a lot of purchase orders were encumbered in April, May, when we were doing the preliminary that have either been closed or rolled over. So that's a really good thing. We had to reduce the revenue in the general fund for next year for our HB6 tax revenue of $107,000. This gross receipts tax only goes for 2 more months in this fiscal year, so we discovered that and had to reduce that. We did provide a list of any changes that we made in the budget. I know it seems extensive, but it's a few dollars here and there. One thing I do want to point out, I don't know if you have your printout, but on page 2, we have some fiscal recovery funds as part of the American Rescue Plan. The total allocation TRC is going to receive is $1,424,807. Half to be received in July of 2021, which we have received, and the other half will be received in July of 2022. The first half of these proceeds, $712,404, will be used for our participation in the roundabouts, in participation with the New Mexico Department of Transportation. I don't know if there's any, one of the pages tells you what our ending cash balance, or it changes that we had in our electric and utilities. The main thing I want to point out is in the sanitation department, I had a mathematical error when I was reducing their budget. So we're having to increase their maintenance vehicle for furniture and equipment by $67,500. That was an error on my part. I took away more than I should have. So that's the main change that we have in our budgets for this year. One other thing, I really want to thank my department staff, my finance officer, Karen Salcedo. She works tirelessly behind the scenes. We spend many nights and weekends together there. And all the department heads and their administrative staff for all the diligence and the work that they've put in. It's hard to put a budget together and then hold to it for the next fiscal year, but I really appreciate all of their efforts. I'll stand for any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. Any questions from the commission?
No, she explained it pretty good.
Thank you. Manager Swingle, questions, comments?
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, no, I just want to thank Carol and her staff for everything they've done. It's been a particularly difficult budget to deal with funds coming in and going away all the time. She's trying to prepare the budget. I think she did an excellent job of informing you what was in the preliminary budget that you approved to the final budget that was approved. Keeping it very short and succinct. Thank you, and thank you, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Good job.
Commissioner Forrester, make the motion to approve resolution number 09-2122 as noted by Carol Kirkpatrick.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of resolution number 09-2122, final adoption of fiscal year 2021-2022 budget as noted by Carol Kirkpatrick, our finance director. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item G5, discussion action resolution number 10-2122, amending fees and regulations for the use of the Civic Center. Angela Torres. City
Thank you,
Clerk.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. This resolution is to amend the current fees and regulations that we have for the Civic Center. Most of the fees increased by $50 and all of the deposits remain the same, and they are refundable deposits. Another portion that we're eliminating in the prior resolution is where it allows 100% reduction in fees for all organizations holding an event that requires at least 2 consecutive days. I believe the purpose of that on the prior resolution was to try to get heads and beds and try to get people to stay in our community. However, that has not been the case. About 90% of our rentals are for local events that do not promote tourism or anything. So we would like to remove that from the previous resolution. We're also adding a clause that states that tulip insurance may be required for scheduled events, and that's something that we don't currently have on our old one. City staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Is there any questions from the commission?
Oh, thank you for doing it. Looks like it needed to be updated.
Yeah.
Thank you. Manager Svingle?
I'm sorry,
questions,
can I
comments?
comment?
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, just one question for Angela. We have 50% reduction for nonprofits, and we still allow governmental entities to use it
Free of charge.
free of charge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin?
Yes, I am pleased with the proposed resolution. We do have, as noted, the fact that we may require insurance in appropriate cases. It's noted that alcohol may be served as set forth in the, I think it's the 6th bullet point under the correct requirements. One question, and I just noticed this here, actually right before the meeting started, but on the 2nd bullet point under rental criteria, it says all events must be scheduled within 48 hours prior to the event. Do we mean to say at least 48 hours?
Yeah, it should be at least
Okay.
48 hours.
All right. Okay. That was my question. Okay.
So Commissioner Forrest will make the motion to approve the resolution as noted by the changes, including the changes.
Commissioner Baca will second that.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of resolution number 10-2122, amending fees and regulations for the use of the Civic Center with the change as noted to must be within 48 hours. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is G6, discussion action resolution number 11-2122, authorizing the submission of a New Mexico Community Development Block Grant Program application. Tracy Alvarez.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, this is a requirement in the application process for the New Mexico CDBG grant program. Staff is requesting approval of the resolution. This is for planning funds. If awarded, the funds would be used to do the update to the comprehensive plan. The planning fund award would be $50,000 with a $5,000 cash match. The cost of the upgrade to the comprehensive plan wouldn't be determined until after we received the award and then we went out for quotes or proposals. Next time, for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Questions from the commission?
No.
Manager Swingle?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. The city has tried for a couple of years to get funding for a comprehensive plan development. We've been unsuccessful at it. We need to continue because we do need to update our comprehensive plan. So staff's recommendation that the Commission approve.
Thank you.
Commissioner Baca will make a motion for resolution number 11-2120, as noted by Mrs. Alvarez.
Commissioner Forrest will second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the approval of resolution number 112122, authorizing the submission of a New Mexico Community Development Block Grant Program application as noted by Tracy Alvarez. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forrester?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna? Aye. Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is G7, discussion action resolution number 122122, approval of the City of Truth or Consequences take-home vehicle policy. Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. The city really has not had a formal policy on the take-home vehicles. I've looked at a lot of documents, and there's a lot of documents that kind of address one issue or another, but no overall plan. So this is the policy that we're recommending to the commission. The program is reserved for employees having an official need for a city vehicle, but beyond normal work hours, including sworn law enforcement personnel and on-call staff. What precipitated this whole policy had a number of requests from department heads to have individuals approved for a take-home vehicle. Since we had no policy on it, we need to get policy direction from the commission. Personnel are not authorized to use a vehicle for anything other than for legitimate city business. The program is not considered a benefit to these individuals that we're giving the vehicle to. It's a necessity for the city of Truth or Consequences for that to occur. When the vehicles are off duty, when the employees are off duty, the vehicles are to remain parked and not in use. Passengers in the vehicle are strictly limited to those that are there for official city business. The vehicle can't be used for personal or commercial use. And what we're recommending, and I think this is probably going to garner some discussion and debate, is that the vehicle operators have to live within 10 miles of the city and excluding law enforcement officers. And I think that's a judgment call on a case-by-case basis with the commission. The policy would be that all vehicle requests go to the commission for approval, and you make that decision. I know there's some interest to even have the law enforcement officers live within the city or within a reasonable range, and that has always been historically the practice, with most governments around the state. However, that has changed for law enforcement officers. They're allowing them. State police, when I was a state police officer, you had to live within 16 minutes of the district office. Now they're letting them live. For here, they live in Las Cruces, Albuquerque, they live in Santa Fe, East Mountain, Santa Fe, they live in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, up in Espanola. They live tremendous distances, and it's a recruiting issue right now. The police department is down 3 officers. We have 2 officers that do not live in Sierra County, and there's a very high probability that we would lose those officers if we were to impose more restrictive sanctions on the policy. So what I would like to do is have the commissioners approve these uses on a case-by-case basis. We'd really be handcuffing the police department and the chief of police in recruiting. I know they've been advertising for vacancies for over 3 weeks now. Did not receive 1 application, certified or uncertified. We need to give him every tool that we have in the box to help him with his recruitment efforts. And I'll stand for any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Manager Swingle. Questions from the commission?
Madam Mayor, I have a question. But we are limiting that to city employees. We're giving the restriction on city employees because I feel like that might be a recruiting thing for the city. I mean, not that they have to live, but if they lived in Winston, that's more than 10 miles outside of the city.
It is.
Okay, and that's set in stone or at your discretion?
It's going to be actually the commission's discretion. However, the 10-mile range is for non-law enforcement people. You can change that. You can 20 miles, 30 miles, that's up to the commission. At some point, even with the law enforcement officers, there's a tipping point that it's really no longer a value. Socorro and Las Cruces are kind of the
Right.
boundaries that I have in my mind
Right.
as far as for the law enforcement.
Correct.
And that'd be the commission's discretion right now to change this if you would extend that mileage for city employees as well.
This would also be case by case though, so if someone was
Only
to-
for the police department, correct?
For the police department, the 10-mile, what's identified in the
The policy
resolution,
is 10 miles
10 miles.
for city employees, but if we had a supervisor that worked for the water department that needed to be here at 2 o'clock in the morning and they don't live within 10 miles of the city, if they lived in Ingle or Winston, I think they should be able to still have their take-home vehicle as
So
well.
then we would need to change the mileage here,
I,
correct?
I personally think so.
Do you have a distance in mind?
How far is the Hillsborough or Winston or Ingle?
Commissioner,
I would think 30 miles is probably
Okay.
pretty
Commissioner
close.
Luna, do you have any questions and comments on this?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Go ahead.
I think, I agree with what Commissioner Forrester is saying, but I think that's where, when it comes into, the commissioner looks at those and approves that. So if there is a water department supervisor who says, say they live in Winston, or Array, or Hillsborough, then we approve that based on that. But I also have a problem with those law enforcement officers living outside of Sierra County and taking their vehicles home with them. They should be able to drive their personal vehicle to TRC, get in their unit, and then go from there. That is my personal opinion. If they want the job, that's the job. I don't think it should be a perk to be able to drive those vehicles home all the way to Las Cruces. If they want to live in Las Cruces, work in Las Cruces, then they're less invested, they're less vested in our community when they do not live here. I think if they were county deputies where their law enforcement jurisdiction begins at the county line, that would be a little different, but their jurisdiction, because our current sheriff does not cross-deputize, does not begin until the city limits. So they are sworn officers, but their coverage does not begin until they get to our city limits. So I have heartburn over that.
Thank you, Commissioner Luna.
Well, and while I hear what you're saying on that, I also hear what our manager's saying, and when we have open positions at our police department and we're not having people apply, I think if we are giving lenience to that, and that's going to be, I think that he was saying about when we're backtracking, it's saying in that policy, that isn't a case-by-case basis, right? If we keep it 10 miles, it's 10 miles, right? That's not a case-by-case, so we have to change the policy if we're gonna allow people outside of the city to take on the vehicle. And I still, as of right now, I think I'm in agreement with our manager in giving the police department any ammunition they can to get more people to apply.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Luna, I certainly understand what you're saying and the concern about an officer is more vested when they live in the community. That's not the time we live in today with our law enforcement officers. When the premier agencies, the largest agencies in New Mexico, are allowing these large distances and travel, they realize that it's important for their recruitment. Some agencies are giving sign-on bonuses now, $10,000, $15,000, and $20,000 for individuals to sign in. We can't compete with that. There's no way we can compete with that. So the things that we can do, the modest things we can do, are the take-home vehicles. And certainly we don't want to restrict our recruiting to outside of county only. However, we're at a point where we're not having a lot of locals that are interested in law enforcement today. And we live in a different time for law enforcement in this country. So we really do need to expand our recruitment efforts and do what we can do to attract law enforcement personnel. I'm not as much concerned about you looking forward, prospectively, looking at individuals in recruitment. I'm very concerned about the existing officers that we have that do not live in this community and the chance that we have of losing them if we impose a restriction of forcing them to park their vehicles X number of miles out of town and have them commuting. I certainly understand in the best case scenario, we want them to live here. However, we're not being successful at recruiting those individuals.
and we don't want to lose them. I mean, if I lived in Cruces, I would want to stay in Cruces if they weren't going to get, if I had to do wear and tear on my personal vehicle.
Well,
And Madam Mayor,
go ahead.
I guess the other thing we need to look at, and I completely hear what you're saying, is those officers are then, don't live within our county at least. They're not buying groceries in our community, they're not paying property taxes, they're not paying utilities, they are not giving back to the community they are serving. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be grateful for their service because they do put their lives on the line, but I think that it's a greater problem, especially when they are getting the greater benefit from driving 150 miles a day on our dime, on our tires, on our oil. And when we look at the bottom line is that, you know, they're not giving back past their time on the clock.
Madam Mayor, I have to agree with Commissioner Luna, but I also agree with Mr. Sino. If we're having recruitment issues, this is something that I think we really do need to look at, or offer at least. You know, I have to agree with you on that.
Well, and I too feel that we've got a great team of law enforcement officers, and they are vested in a sense in our community because it doesn't matter what time of day or night, they're on the road and they're here. And again, like Commissioner Luna had stated, if they were cross-commissioned by the sheriff, then once they hit the county line, and if they were needed, they would be on the job and boots on the ground. So, you know, you really have to look at the day and time. Some of these law enforcement officers have families. They're stable in their location of where they're at. They see that moving them, uprooting them, maybe their kids are in school, and they don't want to be uprooted. But we've got a great officer, so should we ding him because, or her because, you know, they don't want to uproot their families and bring them here? So we really need to give them that incentive, and I think we can't at this time lose the officers, especially when we don't have anybody that's applying to be a law enforcement officer and we're shorthanded. So I agree both with Commissioner Luna. I would like to see that they're vested here, pay property taxes, send their kids to our school, and be here all the time. But you know, you kind of have to weigh the issues and whatnot. So again, we're all correct, but you just have to look at it in a different limelight.
This could always be something that we relook at later on if we get fully staffed.
And we could always revisit it, you know, I mean, a new officer, and I'm going to pick on the chief, you know, I know that he has a family, and he has a senior in high school, and he lives in Belen, right? Rio Rancho. And so, you know, he commutes because that's where he wants to keep his family at this time. But one of these days, there may be that opportunity that he says, I want to move to Sierra County. I love it. This is where I want to continue raising my family and buy a home here. So there's always that opportunity, always that chance, but let's not just cut them at the beginning of it. So.
Yeah, I agree. If we lived in a perfect world, I hear what Commissioner Luna's saying, and I agree with that. But we've got to look what we got right now, too.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, item G,
7.
I'm sorry, 1F. The policy is subject to review by the commission as you deem necessary. And you can terminate this program anytime you wish. Ironically, I had a conversation with Captain Algar of the State Police because I was very much focused on Commissioner Luna's comments. I said, your officers are not vested here. You come in extremely, you know, kind of like a butt through a windshield when the officers come in and they do their work and then they leave town. at the end of the day and go to their homes and communities. So it's very critical of him and the state police for allowing that. And his comments to me were rather important to understand that we can't get officers that want to live in TRC. So they allow them to live in Las Cruces. Some can live in Socorro and do live in Socorro that work this area. That if they didn't, they would lose those officers and we'd have no law enforcement representation from the state police in this community. And I took his wisdom to the heart. We absolutely want these folks living here, and maybe in time, they will move here. However, today, they have not, and we just don't want to restrict the chief's ability to recruit people here based on some miles. So if the commission is interested in approving this, we still need to address the 10-mile radius for the non-law enforcement folks, should you be willing to do that, if that's a concern.
Thanks, Manager Swingle.
So did we want to do, never mind, go ahead, sorry, ma'am.
Did you want the chief to make a comment?
Yeah, do you have any comments?
Oh, sure.
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I fully support this. One thing I just want to add on to it is that as we seek to look for officers, we're not necessarily just looking for individuals who are filling out applications and want to be police officers. I have been approached by individuals who at one point either worked at a fire department or worked here locally. And what I really want to stress is what we're looking for is qualified law enforcement officers. I'm not looking to fulfill, I can find anybody to sit in the car and, a warm body per se, and that's not what we're looking for. And in order for us to try to obtain qualified law enforcement officers, this is an important portion of part of it, as Manager Swingle stated. We can't compete with $5,000 to $15,000 sign-on bonuses, but expanding our recruitment area. And when you live in rural America, you eventually run out of candidates. And by doing so, we at least tap into the area in Las Cruces, which is growing, and you're talking 200,000 people in that area, and gives us a better opportunity to try to find qualified candidates for these positions. And I have an old saying, I told the manager this, I'd rather work short-handed than with the wrong people. And that's what I plan to stay with. So thank you for your support.
Thank you for your comments.
Commissioner Forrester will make the motion to approve resolution number 122122 with the changes of the 30 miles of the city excluding the law enforcement officers.
Commissioner Barker will second that. 30?
That was it, your recommendation?
You said exclude, I didn't hear the language, you said exclude?
Excluding law enforcement officers.
So the 30 miles would apply to everybody or just to law enforcement? I wasn't clear.
The 30 miles, it says 30 miles of the city, so just for the city employees, so that would be excluding the law enforcement officers, that would be at the discretion.
Okay, so we're just saying, okay, I got it. We're just changing from 10 to 30 and, okay. Okay, I'm with you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It'd be 30 miles, they must live within 30 miles for the civilian personnel of the city, law enforcement officers. It'll be on a case-by-case basis. All of these will have to be approved by the commission. So the 30-mile is there. It's kind of going to tie your hands for the civilian personnel within the city. However, you'll have the discretion with the law enforcement officers to give them that extension of distance.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of resolution number 122122, approval of the City of Truth or Consequences take-home vehicle policy with the exception of changing the mileage for civilians to 30 miles and leaving with the exception of the law enforcement officer to be at the discretion of the commission. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Before you, but we say discretion of the commission, do you want would it be up to the commission or up to the city manager to make that determination?
The commission.
Commission.
The policy says that the commission will
Yeah.
authorize
Okay.
all take-home vehicles for individuals.
Okay,
So they'll be coming before the commission. We'll come in with an application, basically,
If they live longer than 30 miles.
Actually, every one of them.
Everyone, okay, okay.
So maybe you want to say excluding law enforcement officers, which will be determined on a case-by-case basis by the city commission?
Sounds good.
Okay, okay.
I'll second that too.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is GA, discussion action resolution number 132122, setting a method by which lodger's tax is allocated on a yearly basis. Manager Swingle.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. We currently have probably 4 resolutions that are addressing lodger's tax and the distribution of the lodger's tax revenue. All of them kind of conflict with one another. This resolution is intended to provide one document that has all of the distributions in totality for the city. What's recommended here's right off the top, 10% is collected for an administrative fee. 1% goes for public arts. That will go to the Public Arts Advisory Board. 60% will go to the Lodgers Tax Board. Of the remaining balance, which is 89%, 60% of that will go to the Lodgers Tax Board, and 40% of that will go to the city for distribution. Various documents say the same thing. However, putting it all together in one document will make a lot more sense. There's been some conflicting information about whether the money rolls over or not. Well, the Public Arts Council, 2% or 1% is typically about $2,000. They really can't invest that into any art project. So they need an opportunity to build a little bit of money. The statute allows the lodger's tax to be used over 2 fiscal years beyond the fiscal year that it was collected. So literally almost 3 years to use that funds before it reverts back to the city. So we would want to extend that for the Arts Board as well as to the Lodger Tax Board. They don't use it all this year, they can use it next year or the following year. It's unlikely that the Lodgers Tax Board would go more than 1 additional year, but it's possible. Statute allows them to go 2 years past the fiscal year it was collected, so we should be consistent with that. There's no reason to be more restrictive than that. And this should settle all of the issues that staff and the various entities have concerning lodger's tax.
Thank you. Comments from the commission?
No, ma'am. Commissioner Baca make a motion for resolution number 132120 as noted by Manager Swingle.
Commissioner Forrester will second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the approval of resolution number 132122, setting a method by which lodger's tax is allocated on a yearly basis as noted and explained by Manager Swingle. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Abstain.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye. Motion carries with 1 abstaining. The next item on the agenda is item H1, discussion action, approval of purchase requisitions over $20,000. Carol Kilpatrick?
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, we have 2 purchase requisitions over $20,000. The first one is to Wagner Equipment for a backhoe that was budgeted from the Streets Department for $98,468.06. The second one is to Irby Supply for $22,950 for poles with 3 quotes. We seek your approval, please.
Thank you. Comments from the commission? Manager Swingle?
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, you're going to see these from now on. This is the only mechanism that we can get these purchases before the public and commissioners review. Historically, the city manager has made these decisions and purchases with sign-off authority. We revised that a few meetings ago, giving my authority up to 20. Anything over 20, just to make sure that the public has access to this information, we discuss it in an open environment, and the commissioners make the decision on those. So you're going to see these in the future, and I think this is a healthy thing for this organization.
Thank you, Manager Swingle.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, and just pointing out, this was already approved, the backhoe purchase was already approved at commission prior, correct?
In the budget, in the
Yes,
preliminary,
okay.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, so, I agree, Manager Swingle, it's just really nice, I think the public likes to hear things like that, so that's awesome. With that being said, Commissioner Forrester will, make the motion to approve, the purchase requisition.
Commissioner Buckle, second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of purchase requisitions over $20,000 as noted by Carol Kirkpatrick, our Finance Director. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is H2, discussion update review of July 13th Recreation Advisory Board Workshop. Reg Moore, Recreation Advisory Board Chair.
Dr. D.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Commissioner,
Good morning.
City Clerk, Manager, I can't be nearly as smooth as Carol was. It ain't gonna happen. We had a turnout that I was a little bit down on when the people showed up for our workshop on what do we want to do with the city parks and trying to develop our master plan. By the end of the meeting, I was charged and energized, in all honesty, because of the ideas that came out of it and the thought process. OJ in his past life job, Ryan, who took over, have obviously done fantastic work at Ralph Edwards, and it's moving. We're at phase 1. And then the comments came, and we looked at that. Obviously, we sent you my little summary. The minutes had another summary. I'll just kind of go over with them and try to explain some of the parts with it. I'd like to let you know that, the city manager, Mr. Swingle, came and was an active part of that discussion, and that really added to where we were at. We had reinforcement in case people got rowdy from the police chief. So, I mean, it was very, very well attended in thoughts and purposes, and I'm sure it's going to grow because we still got more work to do here. Let's check. As I look at it, the first and primary item, we talked about Ralph Edwards first, and needless to say, the first item that came up was the gazebo. And right now we have the centerpiece built. It's got some great safety rails on it. It's got a great ramp going to it. The initial portion of it is really good. People are already complaining there's no shade, there's no music. It has electricity. We're wired and ready. But we ran into the rising cost of metal and what was the plan and where are we going. One of the big comments that came from the people was the gazebo at that park needs to be like the focal centerpiece. What we want to do and how we want to build it from there. New age, old age, some people recommended drive down to Socorro and look at their gazebo in their main park and see how that just kind of draws people there as an attraction. Overall, Ralph Edwards Park draws people to TRC. That piece is in there. So that's one thing. Ryan's done some great work in coming up with shade ideas on how to top that off and then put it there. And he's continuing to work with ideas. The new shades that are possible to go there have a life expectancy of near 20 years anymore. So just kind of, as he continues to work with that, I'm sure he's going to be coming up with ideas. If people in the community have ideas to tie new age of a center of a gazebo with kind of some of the old thought processes, so that we end up with that curb appeal, so that the park continues. That was kind of what the community wanted, and they're working on that as we go right now. You know, we continued talking about that. There were concerns about the trees that are dying and us taking them down. Well, those trees have a long life behind them, and some of them are dying after we did the remodel of the park and the issues. And those things are going to happen as we try to make sure that the park is safe for people to walk through, as the grass is uniform and contingent. And there are plans. They've got an arborist set up for visit in the very near future. They're looking at that, and it should put the parks together, and we're going to maintain the shade and the trees and the natural beauty of the park out there. So I think people were pleased with that. One of the concerns that people made is, you know, we never have had a good riverfront right here at the park. And now we've turned around and we put in parking on the riverfront. And should there be some ideas and thoughts here? You know, obviously parking there at that park is a tricky little thing. There were ideas about across the street where we have our maintenance and management, electrical and stuff like that. You know, what happens to that valuable property there? Could that potentially have a future as parking for Ralph Edwards if it got moved to a less populated area? And here we're talking long-range plans. We're talking master plan for how do we make this thing work. Right now, you know, there were complaints, boy, I drive through there and I can't park on one side of the street. But once again, we're looking after safety. You know, when there's two cars are there and I got to park and I got little kids and people running back and forth and the car is trying to fit through and two cars won't fit through, where do we go? So we put the parking on the back end right now. But does that have a potential? There are some Riverwalk plans coming from the community. There have been plans on a Riverwalk plan, you know, following the river for the 30 years that I've been here. And it would really be neat if we could see some of that unfold where the end was a Riverwalk type situation there at Ralph Edwards that went to as far as we end up being able to make it. We have some nice trails running along through there. One of those pieces, how do we draw people to our community with that type of thing and utilize the river, Ralph Edwards Park, and go with there. We're going to continue to try to meet with ideas and come up with thought process, reach out to the community for their ideas, but we just want to make sure the commission is aware of these things as we go. You know, we're looking at tying together the different pieces, the parks people taking the ideas of moving some of the volleyball, making sure we still have, you know, the horseshoes available there, making sure we maybe even put in some cornhole games for some of us people who can't quite throw that darn horseshoe as far as we used to be able to. Anyway, can we do something about the lighting out there again and improve that? Maybe tie into some of these ideas. Once again, throwing out ideas. These plans have been, these thoughts have been sent to you, and I'm sure there'll be some organization coming up as we go further. Healing Waters Plaza, it's a wonderful place, and we live in Tier C, and the temperature is 110 degrees, and there isn't any shade. We got palm trees there. Can we get some shade there? Would we maybe use it more often? I know downtown people have brought it up, you know, that how do we make sure some of these events happen down there, but we can't cook during the middle of the summer? Once again, going back to Ryan and his looking up shade, figuring that out. These ideas popped up. Like always, senior recreation. senior center popped up. You know, basically, I think the community as a whole feels that the civic center is a poor substitute for a designated senior site. And that jumps us into that next top, which has always been in any of the past workshops that I've had. The highlight of people's request is a true community recreation building. Might start with a swimming pool and end with who knows what else. Once again, a lot of these things are good pipe dreams, but we've got to start thinking and planning and figuring it out and moving forward to go with it. Once again, how do we continue to develop these pieces of our community? Louis Armijo Sports Complex, we talked about it. The baseball fields are probably, and I hate to say it, probably looking better than they looked back in 2000 when Evelyn Renfro really put in a big push and we got grass added to them and we made that there. Things are going despite a 100-year flood that kind of filled everything up with mud. And we got people there. We're trying to kind of shoestring soccer field in the background together so that we can have really good organization for the people. And once again, your recreation department is working on it and tying together with the organizations and seeing how we can stretch funds and make things happen. So it's there, they're developing, they just kind of sometimes need that little extra helpful push maybe from our commissioners to see what we can find hidden underneath the corner. We've got somebody who's going to be managing things for us. Maybe we'll get some super responses there. Our famous Carol Wheeler Dog Park, we got shade that's going to be going up there. We got that there. It's primarily, once again, the recreation dudes out there doing their part to keep it neat and clean, but a whole bunch of community volunteers are out there to maintain it and help keep it up and working and tying it together. And that's that other piece that makes our community neat is how do we find those volunteers to help us tie the portions together and continue to make things work for the community. That's happening. Tennis courts, we even kind of snuck in some pickleball courts over there right now. People are using both of those. What's pickleball? Anyway, go watch them play. It's fun. Anyway, so we're doing those things, and how do we tie that together with some of our unused spaces? How do we relook at maybe the bike, what do we call that, the BMX track out at the park, and is that, you know, a giant nightmare from a maintenance issue, and so does it become a safety hazard, and can we do something better with those pieces of property and fill in some of those easier maintainable recreation things that are truly going to get used? We're going to keep having these meetings and reviewing those city park places and spots and areas and looking for ideas and having some more, and we'll see where we go. And we just wanted to make sure you were all updated.
Thank you,
Well,
Greg.
thank you.
We appreciate the update. Commissioners, questions?
Greg, I just want to say thank you. I mean, we can sit here and read this all day, but I love that a chairman can come in here and give us a brief overview of what's been going on. And kudos to our Parks and Rec who are out there making our town have curb appeal.
There you go. That's the way to go.
Yes, good job.
And it all is
Thank you.
looking very nice. Thank you. All right, the next item is H3, discussion action, reappointment of Greg Diamore to the Recreation Advisory Board. Angela Torres.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. If you choose, if you allow it, I would like to do these next 9 items in groups just to kind of get us through this a little faster.
Okay.
The first 2 will be the reappointment of Greg Diamore and Carol Wheeler to the Recreation Advisory Board. Both of their terms expired in June 2020. However, due to the pandemic last year, they didn't have a lot of meetings and they didn't meet in June, so they didn't do their reappointment. So our code says that they can continue to hold the office until somebody is appointed, but both of them, they did put in their applications to be reappointed, and at the July 13th Recreation Advisory Board meeting, they unanimously voted to reappoint both of them to serve a one-year term. The vacancies were advertised in the local newspaper and posted on the city clerk's bulletin board. With that, staff recommends appointment of both Carol Wheeler and Greg Diamore.
Thank you. Questions?
Madam, it's my honor to make the motion to reappoint both of them.
Commissioner Forrestal, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Luna and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the reappointments of both Greg Diamore to the Recreation Advisory Board as well as Carol Wheeler. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forrester?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, H5, the reappointment of Jenny Neely to the Recreation Advisory Board.
So on this one, I'm going to do the reappointment for Jenny Neely and Igno Hoffner. Both of the Ingo and Jenny are both also current members of the board. Their terms expired in June 2021. On July 13th, the Recreation Advisory Board voted to reappoint both Ingo and Jenny to the board. Both of them will be serving 2-year terms, and vacancies were advertised and posted on the city clerk's bulletin board.
Commissioner Baca, I'll make a motion to reappoint both of them.
Commissioner Forrestal, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the appointments or reappointments of both Jenny Neely and Ingo Hoffner to the Recreation Advisory Board. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forrester?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
She said aye. Sorry. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is item H7, discussion action, appointment of David Dowdy to serve as a member of the Recreation Advisory Board.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. In 2020, Christy Conklin resigned from the Recreation Advisory Board. On September 24th, 2020, we received a board member application from David Dowdy, and on July 13th, the Recreation Advisory Board voted to appoint him to serve a 2-year term. City staff recommends appointment of Mr. Dowdy to the board.
Commissioner Forrestal, make the motion to approve the appointment of David Dowdy.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the appointment of David Dowdy to serve as a member on the Recreation Advisory Board, as noted by Angela Torres. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forrester?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next is H8, discussion action, reappointment of Sid Bryan to the Public Arts Advisory Board. Angela?
Okay, on this one, I'm going to do the presentation for Sid Bryan, Eduardo Alicia, Carrie Jagger-Gustin, and Andy Underwood all together on this one. All 4 of the members are current members of the Public Arts Board. Their terms expired in June 2021, and on June 15th, the Public Arts Board unanimously voted to reappoint all of them to serve a 2-year term on the board. We currently have 1 vacancy on the board, and the seat is being advertised. However, we did receive a board member application from Suzanne Carlstedt. Her application will go before the board at their next meeting, and then if they choose to appoint her, then the recommendation will come to the board, to the commission after that. I recommend approval.
Madam Mayor, before we vote on this, do I need to abstain?
Jagger is her uncle.
You know what, why don't you take do H8, H9, H11, in which you can participate, and then you can abstain in the other one.
Okay, Commissioner Forrester will make a motion to approve Eduardo, Sid, and Andy to the Public Arts, or reappoint them to the Public Arts Advisory Board.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the reappointment and recommendation and reappointment of Eduardo Alicia, Andy Underwood, and Sid Bryan to the Public Utility, to the Public Arts Board, Advisory Board, sorry about that. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye, motion carries. The next item is item H10, discussion action reappointment of Carrie Jagger Guston to the Public Arts Advisory Board.
Commissioner Baca will make a motion to reappoint.
Commissioner Luna will second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Luna to reappoint the recommendation and reappointment of Carrie Jagger Guston to the Public Arts Advisory Board. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster is abstaining from the vote.
So motion carries with one abstention. Motion, okay, yeah. Next item is H12, discussion action adoption of written procedures pertaining to the utility service appeal process in section 1430E of the municipal code. Angela Torres.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. As you all know, Section 14-30E of the Municipal Code gives any person disputing a disconnect notice or other action related to utility service a reasonable opportunity to present an appeal. In your packet is the exact wording of the code. Currently, we do not have any written procedures for this type of appeal, so we drafted a written policy for the utility service appeal process, and staff recommends approval of this appeal process.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Manager Single.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, on the appeal hearing procedures, item 1 on the second page, the last sentence is all documents must be submitted to the county clerk no later. Should be then the word than 1 week, just typo,
Just change the word.
insert the word than.
Okay.
So number 1.
Commissioner Forrester will make the motion as noted by Manager Single.
Commissioner Baca will second it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca with the correction noted by Manager Swingle for the adoption of the written procedure pertaining to the utility service appeal process in section 1430E of the municipal code. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Francis, you still with us? Not doing that. Motion carries. The next item is H13, discussion action approval of summary plat amendment lot split at 2103 South Broadway. Tracy Alvarez.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, the summary lot amendment for a lot split at 2103 South Broadway was done by public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission on 7/12. P&Z recommended approval by a 2-to-1 vote to approve the lot split pending utility verifications. Currently, both lots share water and sewer, and there is no electric easement. Staff would recommend approval of this only if water and sewer were separated and easements were written in for all utilities as needed. With that, I stand for any questions.
And I think by doing that, explain to me that that actually would address the concerns of the one person who dissented, I believe. Isn't that what you just said about the, they would approve the lots but only if the separation of the water or sewer utilities? Isn't that what the concern was of the one person who?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Manager Swingle?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Baca will make the motion for the approval.
Commissioner Forrester will second.
I I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the approval of the summary plat amendment lot split at 2103 South Broadway, as noted, and the exceptions made by Tracy. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Francis? Motion carries. The next item is H14, discussion action, approval of State of New Mexico Tourism Department Litter Control and Beautification Clean and Beautiful Grant Program Agreement offer. Tracy?
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, staff applied for and has now received a notice of award for Clean and Beautiful Grant in the amount of $5,040.38 for litter prevention signs, waste receptacles, bench and table. 25% cash match is required in the amount of $1,260.10 to a total of $6,348. Staff requests approval of the accept the award and enter into the grant agreement.
Questions from the commission?
Madam Mayor?
Commissioner Forrester?
I know we're at the beginning stages of this, but do we have plans on where these signs will be?
Mayor Pro Tem, the litter prevention signs, I believe they were gonna focus the area potentially in Rotary Park once, everything's finalized on ownership. Same with some of the receptacles and, recycled bench and table. I'd have to follow up with the parks on that.
Okay, thank you, that's awesome. With that being said, Commissioner Forrester will make the motion to approve, what is it called? Clean and Beautiful Grant.
Commissioner Buckles, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca for the approval of the State of New Mexico Tourism Department Litter Control and Clean and Beautiful Grant Program Agreement offer as noted and explained by Tracy Alvarez. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Francis? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item H15, discussion action award project Truth or Consequences rehabilitate runway 1331 and enter into a contract with Maxwell Asphalt Inc. Tracy Alvarez.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, next project out at our airport is the rehabilitation of runway 1331. This will include a crack seal and seal coat. Project was bid, and we are requesting to issue the notice of award to Maxwell Asphalt and enter into a contract with them. Project is 100% fully funded by FAA, as you'll see in the next item on our agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Questions from the commission? Manager Swingle?
No questions, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Forrester will make the motion to approve the rehabilitation runway. Fully funded.
Commissioner Buckles, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Forrester and seconded by Commissioner Baca to adopt and award project Truth or Consequences rehabilitation runway 1331 and enter into a contract with Maxwell Asphalt Inc. as noted and explained by Tracy Alvarez, and this is 100% fully funded. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is H16, discussion action, approval of FAA Airport Improvement Program, AIP grant agreement. Tracy Alvarez.
Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, this does pertain to the last item. This is the FAA grant agreement offer in the amount of $347,631. This would cover 100% cost of the pavement rehab at runway 1331 out at the airport. You will notice in your agenda packet, we also had an NMDOT grant agreement. State agreement came through first. Typically, that's only a percentage of the cost. FAA would pick up the larger percent, and then city would have a cash match. Similar to last year, FAA is funding 100%. So the state grant monies will go back, they'll just kind of be back absorbed, and if we're lucky, we'll get some additional state funds for other items, like this year we received funding for a piece of tractor equipment because state had extra funds, so we're hoping to tap into some of that money later on in the year.
Nice.
Request approval and enter into the grant agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Questions from the commission? Manager Swingle?
No.
Commissioner Baca make a motion, noted by Mrs. Alvarez.
Commissioner Forrester will second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester for the approval of FAA Airport Improvement Program AIP grant agreement as noted by Tracy Alvarez. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster.
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is item I, reports. We have I-1, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. A couple of things I want to inform you of. On Thursday, tomorrow, Senator Heinrich's staff is holding a session at the TRC Library from 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning. His staff will be there to take any comments, any questions, any concerns that we have with our federal delegation. So just wanted to send that invitation to you if you would like an opportunity to visit with his liaison for the area. This would be a great opportunity to do that. On August 3rd, Tuesday, 5 to 9 at the Albert Lyon Event Center is National Night Out, and commissioners are encouraged to go and participate. It's a great event every year, particularly for the kids. So commissioners are certainly encouraged to attend that as well. Commissioners, we've done some rearranging of office staff. We've moved Jamie Sweeney from safety to code enforcement. Our code enforcement officer is retiring. She's demonstrated an interest in it. She has the skill sets, been involved in law enforcement end of it before. The chief would like to consolidate that code enforcement and evidence tech work. Instead of hiring two people, we're going to merge it into one. Her attention is going to be on the code enforcement issues. Staff has clear direction. We need to clean this city up, and code enforcement is going to be very active. The chief has a very good understanding of the community and what the needs are, and Jamie does as well. So we're pretty excited about that. We will eliminate the safety officer position. An entity this small does not necessarily need a safety officer. However, we've got to do our due diligence. We've got to create a safety committee. We needed one anyway, even with the safety officer. But we've got to advance safety in this organization. Safety is going to fall on the responsibility of the department heads and the directors. Each one of them is responsible for the safety of their employees, the safety of the public that interacts with any of our operations, and they're going to be held accountable for that. So we're going to be moving in that direction. I wanted to talk to you about rescheduling the workshop, the finance and budget workshop, to August 9th, and see if that day will work for everybody. We talked about August 5th, but there were some scheduling conflicts. So the 9th is Monday?
Yes, sir.
And we would start at 9, and it would likely be an all-day event. And we need to look at revenue shortfalls as well as financial issues and figure out a long-term strategy, how we're going to generate more revenue as well as reduce some of our operational costs. No secret, we can't continue to operate the way we are. Staff has been given direction that we don't want to go and pursue a lot of grants where there's a match. The Clean and Beautiful, the match was such a small amount, $1,200, that we could absorb that, but the larger ones we can't. We get this money from the federal government in the COVID stimulus funding. It's already spent. At some point, the city agreed to, with the roundabout project, to moving the water lines on wastewater. Well, we didn't dedicate any funding for that, so we didn't have any funding. Well, we're getting the funding from the feds, and it's going, it'll be shipped off to the state very soon. And that's just the first round of the money. We'll get the second half, as Carol pointed out, in about 12 months. So is the 9th a workable date for all of you?
The 9th is not good for me, but, yeah, I travel on the 9th.
Okay.
I could be on the phone.
It's going to be a lengthy session, and it would be ideal if we could have all the commissioners in. I know Commissioner Aragon, with the school starting, his schedule's going to be tight, but we need to have this discussion, and we really do need to have it sooner than later. Every day that we can reduce our expenses, the better off we're going to be in the end of this fiscal and certainly next fiscal year.
Before we change it, though, I will find out for sure if I can be available.
Okay.
The 9th does work for me.
Okay.
Just pointing out, I think Commissioner Aragon is on those Flex Fridays, so Friday might be more workable for him.
I think you're right. Either day works for me. 9th or the 13th.
I can make the 9th.
The 13th is the Friday?
Yes.
Commissioner Luna, does the 13th work for you?
Probably not.
That's a Friday, yeah. Go ahead and leave it the 9th, and I will see what we can do.
Okay. Also wanted to talk a little bit about the animal shelter. They've been in crisis mode for a couple of months now, where they just have too many animals in the facility. Looking at the numbers, intake of animals in 2018 was 497 animals, an average of 55 animals per month were brought into the shelter. In 2019, that number almost doubled to 870, an average of 72 animals a day, or a month rather. In 2020, that number went up to 962, and with an average of 80 animals per month. And for this year to date, we've already had over 644 animals, an average of 95 animals per month. That shelter was never designed to have this kind of numbers, and there's a lot of processes and practices that we're doing, which is creating to the problem. We have the safekeeping of animals. We're taking the quarantine animals and we're holding them. And we're keeping them for very extended periods of time, very long periods of time. And we need to address that. And OJ and staff are working on procedures right now to reduce that number. But for safekeeping, somebody wants to leave town, somebody is sick, somebody, for many excuses, all they do is take their animal and there's no cost. We have no fee. And we're basically running a kennel business, and that's not the intent of this shelter. There are times when we need to take an animal for safekeeping, but there should be a fee associated with it, and we should not be competing with the private sector and those kennel businesses. So we're addressing that as well. I think overwhelmingly, we have a lot of repeat offenders who surrender dogs. They get a dog, and in 2 months, 3 months, they return that dog. 6 months later, they come back and get another dog, and 2 months later, they return that dog. The staff at the shelter know who these repeat offenders are, and we're going to have to make some calls on policy on whether they can get a dog somewhere else, but they don't have to get it from the shelter, the animal shelter. Our goal is to, basically be as no-kill shelter at some point, but we're far from that. We're not doing bad. The animals that are destroyed are pretty much those that are feral or aggressive, but we want to continue to do better and improve on that rate. Feral cats, thus far this year, we've already taken in 147. The average stay is about 44 days. When I was looking at this, so let's talk to other shelters. Let's talk to Cruces, let's talk to Socorro. see what we can do about reducing our population. Well, at a minimum cost, it's $20 a day for us to have these animals housed somewhere else. So that's probably in the neighborhood of what we should be charging for these shelter costs as well. Safe keeps, the ones that we're holding for individuals, we've had 56 so far this year that we're keeping, and we've kept some for many months. We just don't have the capacity and the facility to continue to do that. We've got to make some decisions, but we definitely want to get the message out that we need volunteers at the shelter, and we have very limited funding for the animal shelter. We need donations at the shelter for spay and neuter programs, both dogs and cats. We're releasing a lot of cats to, basically barn cats. All of those should be spayed and neutered before they go out. And some we do, some we can't. We just don't have the revenue for it. But we've got to get into the practice. We're really looking for donations at the shelter to help them defray some of these costs. So far this year, they've adopted over 144 animals. Those that were in the facility, an average of 15, almost 16 days for those animals. So one thing, we're waiting too long before we put them up for adoption. We're giving the owners a lot of time to come and get their animals. And statute-wise, we don't need to do that. If somebody is missing their animal, after maybe 3 days, they should realize they should have checked in the shelter. Beyond that, then we need to start taking measures to have that animal adopted out, in community or out of community. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the update in the report.
Thank you.
Attorney Rubin, do you have a report?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Commissioner Baca.
I just wanted to say thank you to Manager Swingle for all the hard work he's had to endure since he's been in this position.
Thank you.
And all the city workers, again, thank you. I know it's a lot of work out there, and a lot of people don't appreciate it. Well, we do, but thank you anyways. That's it.
The staff is tremendous staff. They work very hard. Every one of them need to be recognized. Something that didn't come up in Greg's presentation of the rec workshop. There was some personal attacks on staff individually. There's no place for that. That's not how we get anything accomplished, by attacking people in public meetings. I think you kind of experienced a little bit of it today. Well, commissioners, you got to put on your big britches to be an elected official. The staff, they don't need that. They don't deserve that. Any issues that they have are absolutely related to funding. We can't be all things to everybody. We just don't have the financial resources in this community to deal with that. And it's really unfortunate that it happened. It won't be the last time, but there's a place where manners are important, and in public meetings and workshops, those are the places. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Forrester.
Well, with that being said, Bruce, I'll try to be nice in my public comment. But I felt a little left out this morning because my name wasn't mentioned, so maybe it'll be mentioned next time. But the attacks that happened this morning are ridiculous, and considering that that person was in attendance on the community rec board, I probably assume who was giving them. But I hope Sophia Perone will run again. Maybe she'll get more than 12 people to vote for her next time, and that's my only comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Luna, do you have a report at
I
this
think
time?
everything's been said that I feel, so no report.
Thank you. And the only thing that I have to report in, and I failed to do it in our silent meditation, was that we did have a tragic incident in our community, not in the city, but in Sierra County last week. One of our Caballo fighters was fatally injured. And so we would like to make sure that everyone continues to pray for her family and friends and community. I know it's probably a very hard, tragic incident because this has never happened in our area before. So please remember to keep Janet Tracy and the Caballo fire department and community and Sierra County in our thoughts and prayers. And that's all I have. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is executive session. J1, threatened or pending litigation, Erica Baker and Michael Lanford pursuant to 10-15-187. Do I have a motion?
Commissioner Baca will make that motion.
Commissioner Forrester, second.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Baca and seconded by Commissioner Forrester to go into executive session under pending and threatened litigation as noted. I will be abstaining, so I will be leaving, so you will have to close the meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Paul Baca?
Aye.
Honorable Sandra Whitehead?
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forster?
Aye.
Honorable Francis Luna?
Francis? She's gone. Motion carries. You all need a 5-minute